You got one life, for crying out loud. You might as well just give it all you got.
The Deej, Dan Jordan.
Your daily dose of reality. Your daily dose of the Deej.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose of the Deej.
I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader.
The Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
Listen, don't worry how to sell, baby. Worry about why people buy. And it's fun.
You don't need a 5-hour energy. All you need is the Sales Energizer.
Just when I think it's not going to be as fun as the one before, each one gets successfully better. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it going to take to get you into this car today, huh?
And now, please welcome the Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
Boom!
That's exactly it. Do that. Let's do that.
And we're back.
Stone! I can't believe it's been so long. I can't stand it. We had a little hiatus for certain things, and I'm like jonesing for Chris Stone. Usually people, people jones for getting stoned for all other different reasons. Here, I'm the Chris Stone that I'm jonesing for here. That's big
You're
time.
A stone addict. I love it.
That's it.
Yeah. Good to be back. Good to be back on Dan Jordan live Wednesday, every Wednesday. Well, it hadn't been every Wednesday. So we're back, and thank you for all the kind notes and everything while we were out.
Yeah,
and
well, it's good that, the world is kind of shifted, and you got to adapt and overcome with all different situations. I actually went to the doctor because of this whole thing. So I went to the doctor too. It was a crazy thing, and I got a blood test. By the way, you know what my blood type is?
O positive.
Deej positive. Boom! Please. I mean, look at you. You try to. If you were a real setup guy, you would have just said, "I don't know. What is it?" And I could have just nailed it. But instead, you had to guess. Gotta think. After all this time, you'd think you've known me.
I try to be on my toes with you, man. And
I made that joke up this morning, and I tested it on a couple people. I said, "Hey, I'm trying out some new materials," and I got. Much better response than I got from you. And so thank you very much for screwing me up there. But, listen, it's a good way to start. I appreciate it.
When we got our podcast started, by the way, if you don't subscribe, listen for free to the Sales Energizer podcast, what are you doing? Go at it. It's everywhere. I mean, we got Kazakhstan, we got Romania, we got a ton of people that are. But when we first started this thing, one of the things I asked you, Dan, was, "Hey, I need to find out other podcasts that you've been on, where you've done interviews, and let's kind of find them and sort of cobble them together." Yeah. And one of the ones that I did find that I thought was great was this one you did on the Tenbound podcast. And that, I mean, how long ago was that?
Yeah, it was probably a couple of years ago. David Dulany, it was a big deal. He was a guy, and of course I killed it because I'm awesome on podcast. As a guest, as a guest, I'm really good on podcasts. It's just my thing. But this guy, gave me a shot. This before anybody knew me. And so I've always appreciated. By the way, funny story. Well, actually, why don't we introduce him up here, and I'll tell him the funny story because he's sitting.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get to it. Would you please welcome the founder and CEO of Tenbound, and welcome him to the Dan Jordan Live Show, Mr. David Dulany. David, how are you?
That's my man. Oh, we told you how to put your arms up. We didn't tell you how to make sounds like Chewbacca. But I mean, you added that extra feature right in there, which is strong.
Always.
So let me tell you and the audience here, by the way, if anybody has any questions or any comments here for David or myself or the conference coming up, just go ahead and put them in there. He's very open with all that. And so let me tell you what a big shot he is for all you people out there. My son, Matthew's 22, is constantly making fun of me. And he goes, "Oh, you're doing this podcast," and all this stuff. And I said, this week I'm having David Dulany on. And he goes, I don't, who knows? He's like, oh, David Dulany. So he was making fun of me. Woo-hoo-hoo. And so he went to tell his friends, my dad, to make me look like a fool. He says, not only is his podcast, his live show really taking off, but he's having David Dulany on. One of his friends goes, isn't that like the sales guy who does those conferences? So they knew you.
Wow.
And so not only do I get to tell you about your stardom, but you allowed me to mock my son after he was doing it for the wrong reason. So for that.
No, I've got 2 sons and they're 7 and 10. So it's good to know I've got another 12 plus years of this.
Yeah, for that alone, I thank you. That's good. 7 and 10. That's good. Chris Stone's got a couple boys.
I do. Yeah. Just wait, David. They'll hate you soon enough. And then you'll be good.
They're there. The 10-year-old for sure. The 7-year-old is still working on him.
Oh, that's good. Well, listen, how my relationship with Chris Stone got started is in the podcast world. He was starting the whole podcast. He saw me speaking at some event, and he has this little sales line. It's a very sneaky line. He comes up to me and plays upon my ego, which at that time he probably knew where it was. And he says, so what's the name of your podcast? And my response was, I don't have a podcast. And he goes, boom. And so that was his end. It's a good line, don't you think?
Excellent. Yeah.
Yes.
If you don't have a podcast, then do you actually exist?
Yeah, that's exactly. But you got started. Started before the curve.
Yeah. I mean, we're going on 4 years now, which is crazy. And, it was just lack of marketing budget and having a Rolodex of people that I could call on for the first few guests. So there was no master plan, but it's been great.
That's right. And so I got on your podcast first. And do you remember how that happened?
Yeah. Was it Jackson? I think made the intro. Jackson Liu,
Jackson Liu. Oh my gosh, that's right.
Action Jackson.
Yeah. Are you still in touch? He's got his own podcast now.
Of course.
He's doing stuff
We work with Chris.
Yeah, that's right. We got to get him going.
How did we hook up?
I think I called you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I decided one day, and this is what I tell people in terms of sales altogether. It's a contact sport, and outbound is just my arena. It's just fun for me. And so I always tell everybody, man, if you want to do something, make a couple calls. Yeah. And I think really it just takes a couple calls.
Yeah.
But people just don't do that. But your podcast was, I guess, intended. You meet a lot of people, and then the purpose of meeting those people is to market what? Like, what's your gig that you use this for?
Yeah, I mean, it's morphed a few in 4 years for sure. I mean, when we started, it was training and consulting for SDR and BDR teams. And so if folks aren't familiar with that, most software companies break their sales team into 3 parts. That you've got the sales development team, the account executives, and the customer success. And we really focus on that front end. So they call them SDRs, BDRs. Probably a lot of people on the call are in that space. And we really focused on training and consulting for that group specifically. And then even more specifically here in the Bay Area, because you can't, swing a cat without hitting a software company. So there's plenty of work. And, over the years, sort of, I kind of call it the research media side of the business has grown. And so we've got kind of 2 sides now. So we do advisory services for those companies that are trying to figure out sales development. And then we also run the podcast, webinars, and the big events every year, and work with the sponsors to get in front of that first group. So that's what we're
now
doing.
Tenbound. So you do Tenbound. That's your conference, but you're also doing that consulting for helping other people in their conferences.
Yeah, well, helping them with their sales development team, so a lot of companies have the team of SDRs and BDRs, and they've got that going. And, it's the program is sometimes a bit of a hot potato within companies because they don't really, nobody's sure, should it report to marketing? Should it report to sales? Who runs it? How does it integrate with the rest of the company? And so we'll help them kind of get that straightened out. Get a playbook and a strategy in place, and then help train the team to make sure that they're hitting their numbers every quarter. So that's how we work with that group.
That's it.
Yeah.
And back in the day, they call them SDRs now. Yeah. Back when I got started, they called them cold callers.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's old school in the bullpen. The only difference now is the CRM services that they have now. Man, you could hear every conversation. You know exactly what everybody's saying to everybody. How has it changed in your? Well, how did you get started in that world? Were you an SDR at one time?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm from the same generation. So when I came up, it was a full cycle. You were in charge, and that's how it is in most industries. Still, you're in charge of your cold calling. You're in charge of closing the deal. You got to take care of the customers. And it was when I got into the tech industry, and we were trying to figure out the predictable revenue model, within the company. And there's a book called Predictable Revenue that explained how they set up the SDR program at Salesforce.com. And that sort of became the Bible for a lot of these tech companies, as software as a service companies. You got to have an SDR team. That was what, as soon as the product is ready to go, you got to get the SDR team. And so a lot of companies had this, and they were trying to figure it out. And that we were doing the same when I was working in the tech industry. And I became the first SDR. I became the SDR manager. And then by the time I was out of that, I was running a big multiple, global SDR team, with multiple managers and stuff like that. So kind of saw the whole process. And then when I went out, on my own, it was like there's a lot of companies were just raising their hand going, how do I figure this out? I've got a team, they've got some scripts, they've got these tools, there's a ton of tools, like what do we do? So we stepped into that.
I don't know if this is interesting to anybody else, but it is to me, because the challenge is
definitely not to my kids, but go ahead.
That's right. My kids love it when I'm on stage and I tell a joke that falls flat. That's like, I mean, they live for that. They'll record it and play it back to me.
Yeah.
And this is they play it back on their phone like this, and they go, listen to that. I'm not shutting the sound off. Look, it's still, there's nothing after you said that joke. I mean, nothing. Like no volume. They're awful kids. So here's the challenge with SDRs that I've discovered. Some are really, really good. I'm putting myself in this capacity, or really enjoy hunting. Yeah. I mean, I love cold. I like everything cold. I like cold pizza. I like cold toilet seats. I like cold calling. I like the whole shebang. Anything, that's my thing. And so I just love meeting complete strangers and trying to create some sort of relationship from that. That's why I wake up in the morning. I like that stuff. Dealing with the customer afterwards, boring. But what happens is after you get some clients, then you wind up doing that which you don't like, and then you don't do it nearly as well. And then you get frustrated in your position, back and forth. How do you deal with that? Or am I the only unicorn in the world that has that issue?
No, I mean, I think you make a really great point. And there's a lot that you can unpack there. So number one, that there's sort of that concept of the unique ability. Like everybody's got a unique ability. And there's a guy named Dan Sullivan who runs a company called Strategic Coach. And definitely anybody interested in like the entrepreneur world or, sales and marketing and things should check out Dan Sullivan. But Dan Sullivan talks about the unique ability. So everyone's really great at like 2 or 3 things. And your life is kind of trying to figure out what are those 2 or 3 things that you are really great at, and doubling down and focusing as hard as you can on that unique ability, and then just figuring out how to get rid of everything else, delegate it, give it to somebody else, find somebody else that has a unique ability that wants to do that and loves, taking care of customers and making sure that everything's perfect on that end, so that Dan, the Deej, can spend all of his time doing podcasts and talking to strangers and getting them super excited about your program, right? And the other quick thing I just want to mention, if you bring it back to sales development, sales development is a great opportunity for college graduates, young folks who are trying to figure out, how do I get my foot in the door in the business world, and especially in the tech world, because you can talk your way into a sales development job. And then you find out pretty quickly, within 3 to 6 months, if you're an extrovert or an introvert. Do you like talking to people? Do you like making cold calls? Do you like, taking in inbound leads? Are you more of like a customer service? Are you a marketer? And hopefully the company will help you to place you in a place where they need that. Or you can just be like, this isn't for me, and you're still young, you don't have a bunch of kids. You can go out and find something else.
That, what you just said, Chris Stone, we need to just take that out and just send that out. That was absolute magic to anybody getting started, any 22-year-old that's, what happens is you go to college, your 3rd year, you start getting nervous. Like, what then now? I got like a year left. I don't know what, I'm no closer to knowing what I want to do in life than I was when I got started.
Yeah.
But I only got a year left. Man, that advice right there gets you literally can get into any company in the world that you want to.
Well, and I think the great point that David brought up is you learn how to have relationships with people. You're still young. You're still developing how to have a conversation, to be a good person. It's not all about, how can I lure them into the sale? You have to understand people and build relationships with people. So to that point, I think it's amazing. Not only are there opportunities for people, directly out of college if they choose that path, but it's a great opportunity to learn on the front lines how to have relationships and realize that sales is everywhere, not just in business. It's a relationship with people.
So true. I mean, the strangers, that are out there are how you're going to, learn what you like. You got to talk to strangers, right? And it's going to help you throughout your career, no matter what you do. Even if you're just an SDR for a year or two, to your point, Chris, like everything that you're learning, you will be able to apply. And your next job is probably going to be a lot easier, than being an SDR, I can tell you. So go for it and pull those strings. I mean, another great Dan Sullivan thing is that everything is market research. Your whole life is market research. You're trying A/B testing. Do I like this? Do I like that? Is that interesting to me? And look at it like there's no failure. You just try stuff, see if you can pick up on a thread and then stay with that. And you got to pay your bills and stuff like that. So you're going to have to do a bunch of stuff you don't like, but try to steer yourself towards something that, you're motivated intrinsically toward.
Yeah, that's the old marketing adage. There's no such thing as failure, only testing.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Well, I always tell everybody that sales is the best business in the world, and cold calling specifically is not for getting customers. Cold calling is to learn how to sell. It's to learn how to relate. It's to learn how to, again, make something from nothing. You know what I call strangers? Ask me. Say what? What do you call strangers?
What?
Prospects. That's exactly it. It's just have a good time with this. And the understanding that nothing happens until there is a customer. I think that the definition of a business is having a customer, and that mindset turns you in into a salesperson. Quick story. So my boy is starting a new business, forestry mulching, which is so cool. It's just like tractors and, and you're bringing down trees and making mulch. It's very cool. And to do this, of course, you have to put together a business plan. I said to Matthew, let's see if we can make this thing work. Let's get a customer first. And he says, well, we don't even have the machine. We can't do it. That's fine. Let's see if we can get a customer. 4 or 5 phone calls later to some real estate developers, to some, loan officers, to some real estate people, to actually some tree companies, whatever. I say, we're in this business, blah, blah, blah. Do you got anything going on? We got 3 jobs.
Yeah.
At which point we said to them, let's go out and see the job. We bid the job, and what happened is we found somebody else to go ahead and do it for us. But the fact is, we know we can get customers.
Yeah.
That skill gives you freedom.
It's so true. I mean, I think, people just get stuck in analysis paralysis, and they look at especially if you're a fast starter person, and you get stuck in this sort of loop of, I got to make a business plan and I got to do an analysis and stuff like that. And a lot of times, the marketplace is going to tell you whether you have a business or not pretty quick. So why not just cut the line, like you said, start talking to people. And it's really hard these days, right? Because, the phone has become like your remote control for life. You could sit there all day and not talk to anybody. And it's only accelerated now. Literally, you could sit there and, get all your food delivered. I literally have a guy, and this is really sad. I don't even want to share this, but there's a guy who comes once a week and pumps gas into the cars, and all I have to do is leave the flap open. So I don't even have to talk to anybody at the gas station anymore. So the point I'm trying to make is that especially the younger generation is coming up, and you can literally kind of do everything just with a touch of a button, and you don't have to talk to anybody. So, it's hard to. You're preaching, Deej. Every day I see you out there, pick up the phone, talk to strangers, because on the other side of that fear is everything that you want to do.
Yeah, talk to more people. I can't believe that they don't open the flap for you. What kind of crazy service is that?
Believe
BYOF, bring your own flap.
People
crazy.
forget that the phone, David, everyone's using the word virtual now, especially since, 2020 happened. And people forget that the phone is a virtual device, and you can, work at creating energy. Maybe you don't have the energy like the man that's above me, Mr. Jordan, in terms of being able to speak on the phone, but finding creative ways to communicate with people effectively. And so I know the Tenbound conference is something that you guys do or had done yearly. So I know you did one physically in 2019, and there's one upcoming in March. Did you do a virtual conference in 2020 as well? And maybe for people who are watching, listening, sort of give somebody an idea of what to expect at a Tenbound conference. Obviously, virtually is not going to be the same as maybe being in person, but what can they expect if they were to attend the Tenbound conference, March 24th?
Yeah, absolutely. So the last year was very interesting. We had planned to expand actually and do 2 in-person conferences in San Francisco and New York. So everything was locked in. We had made all the arrangements, and if anybody does events, you know what that means, with hotels and stuff like that. And then we just got, our, handed to us in March, April. And we made a pivot to the virtual events. And so that was a huge learning curve. But we think that we've nailed it. And to your question, we did 2 virtual events in 2020. One on sales development leadership and strategy and how to run the teams, and then one in the more tactical. And this year we're going to do 3 actually. And so we've got a pretty good system down now for those. And definitely not the same. I'm an in-person type of person, and I loved going to conferences, and that's why we were running conferences, right? So it's not the same, but it does offer a wider audience to get involved. The tickets are free, for registration, and the technology is getting better. There's a lot of networking, and there's going to be little tables that you can like pop in and sit around and talk to people and meet people. And the talks are very interactive. So yeah, I mean, it's getting to the point where, I mean, it's never going to replace it, but it offers a new medium for getting to the same result, I would say.
It's awesome that you guys are leaning into that, because there are so many companies right now, either they've waited and maybe are still waiting for things to, go back to quote unquote normal. But even when we do get to the other side of what Dan calls the magic virus, it's going to be, at a minimum, this is going to be, hybrid events, people not comfortable being there physically or unable to be there physically. You have to be able to try to create that. And I love how you guys have leaned into it. And you have the table thing. Are you guys using AirMeet by chance?
We are.
Sounds like okay. Yeah,
Yep.
That sounds like the software.
AirMeet.
For that.
That sounds like you when you were talking about swinging the cat. Okay.
Well, you can't swing a cat virtually at a table.
Right. Well, so here's the big question that everybody is asking. How is it that the Deej is not speaking at a Tenbound event? I mean, what the heck is going on here?
Oh,
Just for the opportunity to make the guest feel uncomfortable. I thought I'd add that there. But so it's here.
God,
When's the first date?
So, and I'll tell you why, Deej. The one in March is leading sales development teams, and so we've got vice presidents, directors, senior managers who are actually running sales development teams at tech companies, and they're talking about how they transition from being in the office to virtual. So great content. And good news is in June at our BDR Tactical, and I'm super excited about this one. This is a virtual conference. It's coming up at the end of June, and it's going to be the gurus, the cultures, the Deej, I don't know, Tony Robbins, we would get him, but people like that are talking about how do I actually do this job on the front lines, and that's super exciting. So that's coming up in June. So.
Well, we got to make sure to make that happen. Anytime somebody can put my name in the same sentence of Tony Robbins, you're welcome back anytime.
Hey, man, he's trying to get to your level, but he's not quite there.
That's right.
I would like to see Dan and Tony in the same room and just kind of sit back and watch sparks fly. Like, I have a feeling like it's just
he's a monster. All right, listen, everybody's really good now, and everybody's getting really good on this medium, and it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to watch. There's been, what I liken it to? I liken it to when the silent movies went into talkies. Yeah. Some of those actors just couldn't make it, and some of them really excelled. And so it's kind of fun what's going on right now. And, the fact is, in the sales world, there's always something. There's always something changing. There's always something happening. And you're able to, the ones that kind of enjoy the industry for the industry, figure out a way to improvise, adapt, and overcome.
Big time. Yep. That's the key. Those are the keys right now. For sure. I mean, whether you're in sales or running a company or just trying to be successful in general, I mean, you got to stay flexible. You never know what the next thing is. Not to be a complete bummer, but I was on Netflix or Amazon or something like that, and I saw a preview, and all I read was the first words. It said for a new movie, in the midst of COVID-25. A family is trying to, and I go, for F's sake, are you serious?
Oh my God! Well,
the point I'm trying to make is be ready. I mean, who would have thought that there'd be snow in Texas, right? I mean, who would have thought that we'd have this thing? I mean, what's tomorrow, right? So I'm just bringing it back, man. Get on the phone, talk to people, get your ideas out there, get it done, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You got to have some urgency. Yeah.
Well, I think that's terrific and a great way to close. Is there any, so what do people have to do to get a hold of you or to get registered for this event and get started?
Yeah, I mean, tenbound.com. So it's TENBOUND, and Chris has it there. That's got, I would definitely, jump in the free conference that's coming up if you're interested in sales development, and jump on the newsletter. That's how you keep up with all the different stuff we're putting out.
Yeah, and I encourage everybody to do this and get started. This was actually surprising and grateful, the amount of wisdom that is coming out of you. And you're such a young man with 2 kids. You got a lot to learn from those 2 kids in the next few years. But the idea is sound. You're creating individual self-starter, a hunting type of people that know that ultimately in the world of sales and in life, the more self-reliant you can be, the more belief you have in yourself that you're able to overcome these situations, the way that you know that each day you wake up and see the sunrise, you have a chance to meet another human being that could significantly impact your life. You have a better chance of being happy forever. Sales is the best business in the world. It's the only one that you get to change your income on a daily basis. Listen, we really appreciate you watching today. Make sure you get to Tenbound. You're the best. I'm the Deej. Go get them today.